Caso arquivado número 1, a caça de BTK.
First of all, Mr. Otero was strangled, or a bag put over his head and strangled.
Conheça BTK.
Every thought, every breath that he takes is sexually motivated.
Um assassino.
And I went over and strangled Mrs. Otero. I thought she was down.
He lives it, he breathes it.
Sem.
And then I went over to Junior and put the bag on his head.
He walks it, he talks it.
Consciência.
Josephine had woke back up.
His life is centered around what he needs sexually.
I took her to the basement and eventually hung her.
Casos arquivados. Delegacia de Wichita, fevereiro de 2005.
Agents from the FBI and members of the Wichita Police Department arrested Dennis Rader.
No dia 26 de fevereiro, o Departamento de Polícia de Wichita promoveu uma conferência
Joseph Otero, Julie Otero,
e noticiou ao mundo que havia capturado um assassino em série.
The bottom line, BTK is arrested.
This is the Investigations Division.
O tenente Ken Landwehr dedicou a maior parte de sua carreira ao caso BTK. Este programa obteve acesso exclusivo à investigação que culminou no interrogatório de Dennis Rader.
It's very difficult to sit across from someone that you chase this long, that you despise the way I despise Dennis Rader.
Say who you are. You're BTK.
I'm BTK, basically that was it. Who are you? Say it. I'm BTK. And after that, the floodgates just open.
If you read much about serial killers, they go through what they call the different phases. That's one of the phases they go through as a trolling stage. Basically you're looking for a victim at that time. But once you lock in on a certain person, then you become stalking. And that might be several of them, but you really hone in on that person. That's the victim.
A prisão e condenação de Dennis Rader completaram os últimos capítulos de uma história que começara 30 anos antes com um garotinho batendo a uma porta. 17 de março de 77.
He asked me, "Are your parents home?"
Em 1977, Steve Relford tinha 6 anos. Ele abriu a porta de casa e encontrou um homem à sua frente.
I'm telling my mother she's sick in bed. Then he proceeded to come on in. Started pulling down the blinds, turned off the TV, reached in his holster and pulled out a pistol. About that time, my mother stepped to the bedroom door. What the hell's going on here?
O homem prendeu Steve, o irmão e a irmã no banheiro. Então, amarrou uma corda entre a maçaneta e a pia para que as crianças não pudessem sair.
I stood on the tub, I think, and looked over the door. As I did that, I seen my mother being stripped, her hands bound behind her back, plastic bag over her head, rope tied around her neck.
15 minutos depois, a casa estava em silêncio. Steve conseguiu forçar a porta e sair do banheiro.
He had already left. I run around to the other bedroom. Seen my mother laying there. I think I tried to untie it. I couldn't. Call the cops. Call 911, somebody. My mom's dead.
Shirley Vian, de 26 anos, jazia de bruços na cama. Ela fora amarrada e estrangulada.
The detectives went out, and when they came back and reported, they said that there's a real possibility that the Shirley Vian case is connected to the Otero case.
O caso Otero refere-se a um pesadelo do qual Wichita jamais se recuperou. No inverno de 1974, a polícia se deparou com o pior crime da história da cidade, o primeiro homicídio quádruplo. Joseph e Julie Otero haviam sido estrangulados em sua casa. O filho, Joey, de 9 anos, fora amarrado e asfixiado no quarto ao lado, e Josephine, de 11 anos, foi achada enforcada no porão.
bound her feet and he bound her hands behind her, and he pulled her little panties down and he cut her little bra off in the back. And while he was pulling her up, he hung her like he would in a hangman's noose. And as she was dying, he was masturbating close to her and got some semen on her leg.
This just didn't happen in Wichita, Kansas, out here on the prairie. A killing like that, a ritual killing like that, happened in New York or in L.A., but not in Wichita. And that really shook up the people. That scared people to death.
A polícia de Wichita interrogou 3 suspeitos no caso Otero, mas antes da acusação, os detetives foram chamados à biblioteca pública, onde uma carta fora encontrada dentro de um livro.
This letter is very clear to tell us, you have the wrong people. You need to stop looking at them. You need to come back and focus your attention on me. I am the important one. I'm the one that's responsible. And you need to get a handle on this one because this could happen again.
A carta continha detalhes sobre o caso Otero que só o assassino conhecia. O autor também escreveu: minhas palavras-chave serão amarrá-los, torturá-los e matá-los. Em inglês, BTK. Elas estarão na próxima vítima.
People were very careful in terms of they would not go home alone, specifically women. It became just a way of life. I mean, no one was necessarily mad, but everyone was certainly aware that we had a serial killer.
3 anos depois do caso Otero, a polícia acreditou que o homicida conhecido como BTK retornara. Wichita se mobilizou rapidamente, mas BTK agiu ainda mais rápido. 9 de dezembro de 77. Às 8h18 de uma manhã de dezembro, a polícia de Wichita recebeu uma chamada. Do outro lado da linha, uma voz dizia aos policiais onde poderiam encontrar um corpo. Um grupo de investigadores foi à casa de Nancy Fox, de 25 anos. Ela fora amarrada e estrangulada com a própria meia calça. Uma amostra de sêmen foi extraída de sua camisola.
He wanted to brag about it. He wanted to make sure that we, the police, found it undisturbed, and he wanted us to see his work and wanted us to realize the type of quote-unquote monster we were dealing with.
O monstro era um assassino em série conhecido como BTK. Sua notória avidez por reconhecimento levou os detetives a tentar engajar o assassino em um diálogo que talvez o denunciasse.
The thought process was, we won't give him credit for it, with the idea that this will prompt a communications from him. And it did.
Good afternoon. This morning, KTV was contacted by the person who police say they believe murdered 4 members of the Joseph Otero family in January of 1974.
No dia 10 de fevereiro de 78, o noticiário da KTV iniciou sua transmissão com uma carta enviada por um assassino que queria um pouco de notoriedade.
BTK began today's letter with a question. How many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?
It was a game that he was playing. He wanted recognition. He wanted us to know that he was in control and that we had no control over him. And this was the message that he was trying to convey to the community.
BTK decidiu provocar a polícia. Em sua carta de 4 folhas enviada à emissora, ele listou 7 vítimas e identificou 6. A de número 5, no entanto, era uma incógnita.
We were confident that number 5 was Kathy.
Kathy era o apelido de Catherine Bright, de 21 anos.
Bright was stabbed to death in her home. The victim's brother was shot twice in the face by the attacker.
4 anos antes, Bright havia sido encontrada em sua casa amarrada e esfaqueada 11 vezes. O modus operandi do crime era semelhante ao de BTK.
It comes back to the method of operation, the way he broke into the house. He broke the back window, he cleaned the glass up, he cut the phone wire.
Com a carta enviada à emissora, BTK despertou a atenção e o medo de que precisava. Entretanto, no ano seguinte, o assassino parou de agir. Não houve corpos, telefonemas ou cartas.
The hysteria that spread over the community a year ago at this time has died down. The chief does want people to be aware that BTK is probably still around.
I have no reason to doubt that the individual will strike again, assuming that he's still free and walking around.
livre e à espreita. As notícias não eram boas para a cidade de Wichita.
There have been a lot of crimes in society that have never been solved. Is this going to be one of them?
I think we'll solve the crime. The question is, when will we solve the crime?
Delegacia de Wichita.
There were discussions as to whether or not a given case was actually a BTK victim.
8 anos após o primeiro homicídio de BTK, a contagem de corpos continuava em 7. Então, Wichita criou uma unidade especial. O grupo voltou a analisar o arquivo de provas. Eles receberam o apelido de caça-fantasmas. Sua arma secreta era uma nova tecnologia chamada DNA.
DNA actually, I guess, came in through me because I have a brother-in-law who's a forensic pathologist, and so I mentioned that to the task force, not knowing much about it.
Os caça-fantasmas enviaram material biológico de 2 casos de BTK para um dos poucos laboratórios que dominavam a tecnologia do DNA.
We were probably the first people to use DNA in the United States, I think.
He was able to send some of our samples back, and he was able to get a DNA profile off of it.
O perfil genético de BTK foi um dos primeiros a serem desenvolvidos para uma investigação de homicídio nos Estados Unidos. Mas, infelizmente, para os detetives, sua utilidade era restrita.
There was no searchable database or anything like that back then, but it was an opportunity that we had that we could positively eliminate someone with that profile.
Ken Landwehr era o integrante mais jovem dos caça-fantasmas. Por mais de 4 anos, ele ajudou a investigar centenas de pistas, mas nunca efetuou uma prisão.
I was the last one standing. I was the young kid. When that started, those guys were the experienced ones. They were the ones that taught me how to be an investigator. I mean, my first case was the BTK homicides.
Sem suspeitos para apresentar, a Força Caça-Fantasmas foi desativada. A maioria da população acreditava que BTK não agiria mais. Eles estavam errados. Março de 2004.
Wichita Police confirm BTK is back.
24 de março de 2004. A estação de TV local iniciou seu noticiário com uma bomba. Após mais de 25 anos de aparente latência, o monstro conhecido como BTK despertara.
A letter sent to the Wichita Eagle last week is believed to be from the serial killer. It is a story we first broke on Cake yesterday.
This is actually the photocopy that I made. It was, the return address is Bill Thomas Kilman, BTK, which was kind of a clue.
Hurst Laviana é repórter do The Wichita Eagle. Ele recebeu o que a polícia acredita ser a nova missiva de BTK.
It's a single sheet of paper, 3 photographs, a driver's license. And there were some markings on the letter.
As 3 fotos eram de mulheres mortas. A carteira de habilitação pertencia a Vicky Wergel, assassinada em sua residência em 1986 e suspeita de ter sido a 8ª vítima de BTK.
Where is he and where has he been? 2 questions police hope to answer.
We do believe that BTK is in Wichita.
Nos anos 80, o tenente Ken Landwehr era um jovem investigador no caso BTK. Hoje, ele lidera uma nova geração de detetives.
Grab a pack of leads and move on.
The strategy was to try to keep up with the tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first things I remember was the fact that, of course, when the calls started coming in, a lot of them were our same suspects that you guys had kicked around for years.
O DNA encontrado no corpo de Wergel era compatível com o material genético extraído das várias vítimas de BTK. Mais de 1.500 homens foram interrogados e obrigados a fornecer material para o teste de DNA. Mas nenhum foi compatível com o perfil de BTK. Enquanto isso, o assassino se ocupava não em matar, mas em escrever. 4 de maio de 2004.
When the letter arrived, the receptionist immediately noticed it and sent it back to the newsroom. The police were called, and in no time a detective arrived to retrieve the letter. Police have asked we don't reveal everything the letters contain, but here's what we can show you.
2 meses após reaparecer, BTK enviou uma segunda carta à mídia. Desta vez tratava-se do roteiro de um livro.
The first page said the BTK story. It was typed, followed by titles of chapters.
I think he liked presenting his case in the media, and I think he liked Cake TV a lot.
Susan Peters trabalhava como âncora na emissora e era objeto da fascinação de BTK. Ele enviou várias mensagens para a polícia através da emissora, sempre expressando sua estima por Susan e seu co-âncora Jeff Hendorn.
The message shows personality. Sorry for Jeff and Susan's colds, it reads, referencing comments by Cake's news anchors.
It was eerie. It was very eerie when he wrote to us and said, I hope Susan's and Jeff's cold get better, because naturally everyone's more afraid for the female than the male of the newscast. I mean, that freaked me out. To be honest with you, it freaked my husband out. It was a little bit frightening, and at that particular time, I started taking extra precautions and extra security precautions.
BTK will decide that he wants to write his own story, which will start this series of letters.
Landwehr não tinha outra opção além de aceitar o jogo de BTK.
He's going to send him at his discretion to us or to other members of the media, and we'll play this game with him.
Obviously, by today's coverage, BTK is watching and has been for years. The message has been received and passed on. Our job, as always, is to be the eyes and ears for the public. As good journalists, we are here, and we are listening and communicating.
We need to keep him talking. If we can keep him talking, we're going to catch him. And that's basically because he will make a mistake.
Em 17 de julho de 2004, BTK enviou uma carta à Biblioteca Pública de Wichita. Ele escreveu: encontrei uma mulher e acredito que ela viva só. Creio que o outono ou o inverno serão o momento certo para atacar.
We know sooner or later this guy will probably kill again if we do not stop him. And we've got to get there first. And we're just trying to keep him talking.
3 meses depois, o assassino enviou o segundo capítulo do livro com a suposta biografia de sua vida.
He claims the following. He was born in 1939, which would make his current age 64 or 65. His father died in World War II, and his mother raised him. His mother started dating a railroad detective when BTK was around 11 years old.
Landwehr continuou a revelar as cartas ao público, esperando que o assassino se comunicasse mais. Entretanto, ele ocultava da população as fotos que BTK tirava de si mesmo e enviava junto com a biografia.
He will send us pictures of himself in 4 different locations, where he's tied up to trees, in practicing autoerotic, where he's actually buried himself in a grave.
BTK também começou a enviar bonecas em uma alusão às suas vítimas. Supostamente, esta seria Josephine Otero, a garota de 11 anos que ele enforcou em 1974. E esta seria Nancy Fox, morta em 1977.
He would use those dolls to fantasize about what he did to victims. We have Polaroids of him dressing up with his dolls and tying them up, taking pictures of himself and the dolls in a mirror. That was part of his fantasy life.
Post Toastie's cereal box, on the front of the box, the initials BTK.
Nos 3 meses seguintes, BTK continuou a espalhar vários tipos de pacotes contendo capítulos detalhados de seus homicídios. Os detetives esperavam que cada remessa os aproximasse mais do assassino.
Lieutenant Landwehr and Detective Kelly Otis arrived at the scene. After looking over the box, more officers were called to the area.
He's playing with us, he's taunting us, and that's what he's always done. But we knew that in the long run, if we continue to let him do that we're going to catch him. And that's the ultimate goal was, of course, put him in behind bars.
25 de janeiro de 2005.
We're out here at the southeast corner of the parking lot at the Home Depot. And you see a row of vehicles here, and the next row over is where the employee had parked his truck.
Dan Gouge é detetive de homicídios em Wichita. Em 25 de janeiro de 2005, ele foi informado sobre um pacote suspeito.
The package was actually in the back end of his truck, and that's where he found it.
A mensagem na parte externa do pacote dizia bomba BTK. Pensando tratar-se de uma brincadeira, os funcionários abriram a caixa. Não havia explosivos. Os detetives confiscaram os vídeos de segurança da loja.
So there were hours of video on that day while he was working that had to be looked at in order to try to find anything that could be someone making a drop into his pickup truck.
Em um vídeo de vigilância gravado às 14 horas e 37 minutos daquele dia, um veículo SUV se aproxima da caminhonete e parece reduzir a velocidade.
Actually, it's his sons.
What you're seeing on this particular screen is a black Jeep that's entering the picture there, which will travel across the top of the screen and park next to that vehicle. An individual, it appears, gets out of the vehicle, the Jeep that parks next to the pickup truck, fools around outside of the vehicle, and then gets back into the Jeep and leaves the same way it came in.
Os detetives ampliaram as imagens, mas não conseguiram identificar a placa do veículo. Ainda assim, acreditavam que aquele carro pertencia à BTK. Em 3 décadas de investigação, talvez esta tenha sido a melhor pista encontrada.
You're just staring. I stared at that. I must have watched that I don't know how many times, just staring at him, saying, there he is.
Enquanto alguns membros da força analisavam o vídeo, outros investigavam o conteúdo da suposta bomba BTK.
Inside of it, it had a doll and some jewelry, and it also had a note inquiring whether or not he could communicate with the police by floppy disk without us being able to trace it. In fact, he wrote, "Be honest," and asked us to reply through the newspaper to his question.
And of course, we responded by running an ad in the paper, which he asked us to do, basically telling him we can't trace a floppy disk, which we knew, of course, was inaccurate.
Landwehr aceitaria conviver com essa mentira se ela o levasse ao assassino em série. 16 de fevereiro de 2005.
Fox KSS 24 got a envelope in the mail, and inside that envelope was a postcard with communication and a purple floppy disk.
Fox Kansas receives a package claiming to be from serial killer BTK.
No dia 16 de fevereiro de 2005, uma emissora de televisão local recebeu outra correspondência de BTK. Dentro estava o item que a polícia tanto aguardava, um disquete.
They called us when they got it, and some of the task force members went out and picked it up, and they brought it back to our office at the Epic Center.
O detetive Randy Stone é perito em informática. Ele inseriu o disquete no computador e abriu o único arquivo ali contido.
It says, "This is a task C3x5 card for details on communication with me in the newspaper."
Stone concluiu que a mensagem foi criada através do software Office da Microsoft.
Knowing that Office has what's called metadata embedded in it, and that was what we were just looking at in the formatting.
Cada software é registrado para um usuário específico. Em questão de segundos, os detetives descobriram o nome e os dados do autor da mensagem.
We could tell that it was somehow affiliated with Christ Lutheran Church and the Park City Community Public Library. And then the next thing we looked at was statistics, and it shows here that was last saved by Dennis. So somehow a Dennis who was affiliated with the church or the library was somehow involved with this document.
Stone acessou a internet à procura de uma igreja cristã luterana em Wichita.
And when we do that, we come up with their web page that has a link to their people affiliated with the church. You click on that link and you go to here. And the only Dennis we found on there was the president of the Congregation Council was Dennis Rader.
Em questão de minutos, um simples computador identificou o suspeito e até indicou sua possível localização. Stone recebeu os cumprimentos dos colegas.
You know, I'm sitting there looking at the computer. I know there's people standing behind me, but then I come up with a name and look up Dennis, and I look behind me and there's nobody there anymore because everybody just disappeared.
You know, once we had this information, we were gone.
Os detetives de Wichita saíram às ruas direto para a residência de Dennis Rader.
The last known address was at 6220 Independence, which is in a city just north of Wichita here called Park City.
Os detetives Tim Health e Clint Snyder foram a Park City. Mesmo antes de estacionar o carro, eles receberam a confirmação de que Rader poderia mesmo ser BTK.
As we pull up to about here, we glance up and we can see the Grand Cherokee, the black Jeep Grand Cherokee, parked up in the driveway.
O carro era similar àquele que foi visto no estacionamento da loja e associado à BTK.
That was one of those pivotal moments that you just can't describe hardly. It's one of those moments in any investigation where you feel like, okay, this is it. You know, we've got you.
You know, a lot of us, I can speak for myself, still weren't sure originally.
Oh, yeah.
Because we thought this guy can't be, he's setting somebody up. He has to be. But I think the follow-up that was done fairly quickly when we found the Jeep Cherokee sitting in the driveway, that pretty much took away that doubt.
Alguns detetives queriam agir imediatamente e prender Rader. Entretanto, o tenente Landwehr pediu aos homens em campo para aguardar.
He said, "Come on back." And as Tim and I have discussed many times, that was the hardest drive probably that we've ever had. And the hardest thing we've ever had to do is to put that car back in gear and drive back to Wichita when we think we're 100 yards away from BTK.
I was trying to figure out a way to get the DNA. Since I was going to do the interview, I wanted to be 100% sure when I sat down in the interview that I was talking to BTK.
O tenente Landwehr queria obter o máximo de informações sobre Rader antes de prendê-lo. Os detetives mergulharam sobre o passado do suspeito para ver o que poderiam encontrar.
When you look at his lifestyle, I mean, he really didn't fit the profile of a serial killer. I mean, he blended in. You know, the president of his church congregation, Boy Scout leader, you know, lived in the suburbs outside of Wichita. I mean, he blended in.
Para assassino em série, é essencial não chamar a atenção. Assim, ele pôde matar durante anos, sem ser identificado. Landwehr pediu vigilância ininterrupta para Rader. O tenente Mike Hennessy conduziu a operação.
It became pretty clear to me that he just acted like an everyday individual. He is a person that had a family, raised a family, apparently, was married, went to a job every day, came home.
We don't want another victim. Of course, after we get the name, that would be a terrible thing to occur. So we're watching real loose surveillance on him. There's so many things that this guy really looks good. He's basically the right age. Everything seems to be falling in line, so we're going to take it very quietly.
Landwehr precisava de uma amostra do DNA de Rader, mas tinha medo de assustar o suspeito com a abordagem. A alternativa foi abordar a família.
We'll find out that he has 2 children, and we know that we will be able to get a reverse parent match if we get the DNA from one of those children.
A justiça autorizou o acesso à ficha médica da filha de Rader, Carrie, de 27 anos. Uma amostra de seu tecido foi enviada ao laboratório criminal em Topeka.
Basically, I get the phone call that the daughter is related to BTK. And at that point, we start writing the search warrants, planning his arrest for the next morning.
We had down here at this intersection to the left, we had all of our unmarked vehicles with the arrest team in place.
Em 25 de fevereiro de 2005, a força-tarefa BTK esperou Dennis Rader chegar em casa para almoçar.
And as he came down off of 61st Street and started down this street, the unmarked car with the lights in the grill came up behind him and put on their lights and stopped him right in this area here. And that's when Ray Lundeen from the KBI and Dana Gouge came up and made the arrest.
In the backseat of our car was Lieutenant Landwehr, and we got him back. And when he opened the door, he was handcuffed, and he bent down, and he looked over, and he said, "Hello, Mr. Landwehr."
Never denying that he's BTK, never denying anything, never asking why we're holding him. It was just, "Hello, Mr. Landwehr," and pretty much resigned right at the fact that, right then, that, well, this is going to be a long day for him.
Escritório do FBI naquele mesmo dia.
We will protect your family while you're here. I cannot promise what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day.
It's very difficult to sit across from someone that you chase this long, that you despise the way I despise Dennis Rader.
30 minutos após a prisão, o tenente Landwehr e o agente do FBI, Morton, interrogaram o suspeito. Sobre a mesa estava o disquete que levou a polícia a ele.
When did you type this?
Well, probably would help to have a calendar, but basically, anyway, you can get out the DNA, right?
You can't get out your DNA unless you've had a total blood transfer and lost every organ. It's there.
He knew that DNA was, he had studied enough that he knew that was going to be it.
Wouldn't that be a bummer if the BTK copycat confessed and then he matched it?
He asked several times that DNA doesn't lie, does it? I said no.
Things have occurred medically with your children, And those samples are saved, biological samples are saved in some medical procedures. And I can take those samples and I can get those with a court order. I can test those, and I know that BTK is the father of your children. That's what brings me to you. That's why I know your DNA is going to match BTK's. And that's where we're at.
Landwehr e Morton queriam falar sobre homicídios. Entretanto, Rader queria conversar sobre o anúncio de jornal que levara à sua prisão. Rex, tudo bem. Essa foi a mensagem plantada pelos policiais que levou o assassino a acreditar que a polícia não poderia rastrear seu disquete de computador.
My job was message the paper said, Rex, it's okay. Rex, it's okay. Yeah, you're right.
He thought that this chase should go on forever and that it should be enjoyable for both of us.
I need to ask you, sure you like it. How did you like it? Because I was trying to catch you.
I lied to you because I was trying to catch you. And he was incredulous to the fact that I wanted this to end.
Mesmo na sala de interrogatório, Rader parecia gostar de brincar de gato e rato. Entretanto, para os detetives, o jogo logo se tornou cansativo.
Why don't you just say who you are. You're BTK.
I'm BTK, basically, that was it. Who are you? Say it. I'm BTK. And after that, the floodgates just opened.
Nas 30 horas seguintes, Dennis Rader forneceu detalhes sobre os crimes de BTK conhecidos pela polícia. Então, ele confessou mais 2 homicídios cuja autoria ele nunca assumira por serem vizinhos.
Rader's going to live here right at 6220 Independence, 5 doors down is going to be Marine Hedge. And then, of course, Dolores Davis lived here at 61st and Hillside.
Rader confessou ter raptado, estrangulado e ocultado os corpos de Marine Hedge em 1985 e Dolores Davis em 1991. Ambos os homicídios seguiam um modus operandi de BTK. No caso de Dolores Davis, ele cobriu o rosto da vítima com uma máscara de porcelana pintada.
And, of course, he had evidence in his home of both of them that he had taken photographs at the death scenes and at the church on Marine Hedge and under the bridge on Dolores Davis.
Hedge e Davis elevaram o número de vítimas para 10 e colocaram um ponto final na trajetória do assassino em série. O último capítulo se desenrolou no Tribunal de Wichita, Kansas. Tribunal do Condado de Sedgwick, 27 de junho de 2005.
One of the points of prosecutors is to embarrass Dennis Rader. They have said that before. They want the world to know what kind of a man Dennis Rader is.
Em junho de 2005, a mídia tomou conta de Wichita para acompanhar o caso BTK em sessão aberta.
I don't know how to exactly say that. I had many, what I call them projects. They were different people in the town that I followed, watched.
Por quase uma hora, BTK falou de seu passado. Diante de um tribunal lotado, ele começou com os homicídios de uma família inteira.
First of all, Mr. Otero was strangled, or a bag put over his head and strangled. Then I thought he was going down, and I went over and strangled Mrs. Otero. I thought she was down.
He spoke very matter-of-factly, almost as if I'm speaking with you today.
And then I went over to Junior and put the bag on his head. After that, Mrs. Otero woke back up, and she was pretty upset in what's going on. So I came back, and at that point in time, strangled her for the death strangle at that time.
With your hands?
He has no remorse. He was very proud of what he did, and he would have continued to do it, without a doubt.
Josephine woke back up.
What did you do then?
And I took her to the basement and eventually hung her.
Rader valia-se de artifícios para iludir as vítimas. Vicky Wergel estava em casa com o filho de 2 anos quando alguém bateu à porta. Era BTK vestindo o uniforme da empresa de telefonia.
Did she allow you in?
Yes, she did.
What happened then?
Went over and found out where the telephone was, simulated that I was checking the telephone. I had a make-believe instrument and after she was looking away, I drew a pistol at her and asked her if she'd go back to the bedroom with me. So I was going to have to tie her up. She was very upset, and we fought quite a bit, back and forth.
All right, she was physically fighting you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
What happened then?
Finally got the hand on her and got a nylon sock and started strangling her.
Dennis Rader mencionou 10 homicídios e declarou-se culpado em todos. Tudo o que faltava agora era dar a sentença no último dia no tribunal.
The evidence was there earlier, DNA, floppy. There was no way that I was going to get out of this.
18 de agosto de 2005.
He is an individual who has a very deep-seated sexual deviancy, that he is an individual that could not be stopped.
No dia 18 de agosto, a promotora Nola Folston explicou por que Dennis Rader deveria ficar preso pelo resto da vida.
Even as a child, he got sexually aroused, not as a human being or a normal person would be, by love or attention or emotion, but by violent behavior. Every thought, every breath that he takes is sexually motivated. He lives it, he breathes it, he walks it, he talks it. His life is centered around what he needs sexually.
All right. Thank you. Please be seated. State may call their next witness.
Na audiência de sentenciamento, todos os membros da força testemunharam. Cada um expôs uma parte do terror que BTK representava. Tim Health revelou as últimas palavras do assassino para uma das vítimas.
He whispered in her ear and he told her that he was BTK. He said that he was a really bad guy.
And then what happened?
He said at that time she started to squirm, and that's when he really, and again he would demonstrate, because he had to hold the buckle down with one hand, and at that time he demonstrated that he would have to really pull on the belt at that point.
O tenente Landwehr testemunhou por último, oferecendo detalhes sobre as fantasias eróticas presentes nos crimes de BTK.
What did Mr. Rader tell you about his need for bondage and why he did what he did?
Well, he was a practitioner of autoerotic activity. Basically, he would dress himself up in victim's clothing. He would put himself into peril at some point in time where there was a heightened fantasy of some hypoxia that would go on in an autoerotic situation.
It's very gratifying to be able to show what low level of mentality he has, of what excites him.
Explain that.
Basically, the theory is that because of oxygen deprivation to the brain, because of either putting something over your face where you're not getting oxygen, or you're cutting off the blood supply to the brain, and if this comes at the time of a sexual release, this is supposed to give you a heightened thrill fantasy.
We're going to show a series of photographs taken by Mr. Rader of his self-induced bondage. And he would hang himself from a tree, is that correct?
Yes. He's a pervert. Now, unfortunately, he's a pervert that had sadomasochistic tendencies and finally would revert into killing someone.
Now, this photograph is of a grave. What can you tell us about this?
Basically, it was that he was going to bury a victim because he didn't want his victims to be found at that time and bury them. And he was going to, didn't get that accomplished, and so he went out there to take photographs of himself.
I mean, that was part of his fantasy life. He had a very rich fantasy life that, to be honest, was very juvenile.
So we're talking about not only an individual who commits homicides, but one who is a sexual predator and even more categorized as a pedophile. So we're dealing here...
Após expor o motivo dos crimes de Rader, a promotoria deu aos familiares das vítimas uma chance de falar diretamente com BTK.
Although we have never met, you have seen my face before. It is the same face you murdered over 30 years ago. The face of my mother, Julie Otero.
My mother begged for her life, yet he showed no remorse. He saw that she had a family and a little boy right there in the house with her, yet he continued with his sick plan
For the last 5,326 days, I have wondered what it would be like to confront the walking cesspool that took my mother's precious life.
Murdering my mother was real personal to me, and I was going to let him know that what's happened since, it's been very personal between Dennis and me.
If I embraced bitterness, I would remind you that you are nothing but a despicable, child-murdering, cowardly, impotent eunuch and pervert masquerading as a human being.
Finalmente chegara a hora de Rader. Ele começou seu discurso doentio, tentando estabelecer um elo entre ele e suas vítimas.
Kathleen Bright, she spent time on her grandparents' farm. Well, I did too, as a kid. I have many fond memories of that. Dolores Davis, she loved animals, and I worked as animal control. I have a great fondness for animals. Joseph Otero was in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force. He was a husband. I was a husband.
That he would even talk about the victims and start comparing himself to them angered me. It was uncalled for, and it just shows you what Dennis Rader is. He's nothing to us.
Então, como se houvesse ganho o prêmio de melhor assassino em série, BTK agradeceu a todos os que o ajudaram.
Thanks. I can't believe the people that have helped me on this. I think you have to appreciate the police department. They've done a lot of work. Even though it took a long time, they gathered evidence, they had that evidence. When they got the key suspect, they zeroed in on it very rapidly. Defense, we've had our ups and downs, but mostly they've been good. Sarah has probably been my workhorse. Pastor Clark, he has been my main man. For him to stay with me and remain strong, he's a good man. I appreciate that.
He has no remorse. Those tears were for himself. Everybody saw for the first time. The public could finally see exactly what he is. He cares nothing about anyone else.
Rader encerrou com um último desejo, sua própria salvação.
I am the light of the world. Now that I've confessed, I expect to heal and to have light. And then hopefully someday God will accept me.
Mr. Rader did not turn himself in and go peacefully. Mr. Rader was caught and intended to commit an 11th murder, but for the actions of the Wichita Police Department.
O juiz Gregory Waller sentenciou Dennis Rader à pena máxima, 10 prisões perpétuas consecutivas, e também ao que é conhecido no Kansas como os difíceis 40, uma sentença de 40 anos sem possibilidade de condicional. Para as famílias das vítimas, um ato de justiça após décadas de incertezas não elimina a dor, mas é o começo do processo de cura.
I had told her I wasn't going to quit until the animal was caught, even though I'd pretty much given up that was ever going to happen. Eventually it was, and in my own small, indirect way, I was a part of that. And so I had a sense of satisfaction to her that I could tell her that, now the animal is in a cage and he won't ever get out.
Yesterday was the first day of the rest of my life. And, I'm going to live it. I'm going to be happy. Because I know this monstrous motherfucker will never see daylight again.
Our first major suspect was that tip.
O tenente Landwehr perseguiu um assassino em série por 2 décadas. Ele não pretende compreender BTK nem seus motivos. Para o tenente, basta saber que ele jamais cometerá outro crime.
Dennis Rader is a pedophile. Dennis Rader is a serial killer. And Dennis Rader is where he belongs for the rest of his life.